Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the March 1st, 2023 meeting of the Program Subcommittee for the Critical Area Commission, Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bays. The Program Subcommittee is holding this meeting virtually. This meeting is being held using Microsoft Teams. A video of this meeting will be provided on our website in accordance with the Open Meeting Act requirements. Preliminarily, I would like to review the ground rules for the meeting. First, all microphones will be muted. We ask that you hold all questions or comments until the end of each presentation. Please announce yourself by name when speaking so that any attendees on the phone can identify you. If you are joining the meeting by phone, press *6 to unmute yourself. The public was invited to submit written comments on any agenda item up to 24 hours prior to the meeting. Those comments, if received, will be read by Commission staff at the appropriate time. Mr. Kelly, if you could be so kind as to call the roll call of those members in attendance.
Sure thing. This is my latest list, so there are a couple people hopped on. So if I missed you, please don't hesitate to raise your hand or announce yourself. So I have Commissioners Gerthofer, Greer, Mulkey, Ferguson, Lewis, Cornwell, Hewitt, Malkus, and Taylor. I'm not sure if I missed anyone else who may have hopped on at the last minute.
Yeah, this is Jim Palmer. I will be a commissioner as soon as my letter is in. I'm not 100% sure I will be on the subcommittee though, but I am jumping on to see what it's about.
Welcome back. It was good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So thank you, Nick. With that, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the February 1st, 2023 meeting of the Program Subcommittee. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes? Does anyone have any comments or changes to those minutes? Hearing none, Commissioner Ferguson, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the Program Subcommittee from February 1st, 2023?
Yes, I move that the minutes of the February 1st Subcommittee meeting be approved.
Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Hewitt.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. There's a motion and a second. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes are unanimously approved. With that, we'll move on to the first item on our agenda today, and that is the Town of Leonardtown new IDA less than 20 acres text amendment. And I believe Annie Sakarik is the presenter on this, so I will turn it over to her.
Yes, thank you, Chair Greer. Let me. All right, so if anyone can't see my slide, please just holler, but I will go ahead and proceed. Yeah, so again, thank you. Good morning. My name is Annie Sakarik, and I will be presenting the text amendment for the Town of Leonardtown. We do have a couple representatives from the town on the call with us, Lachelle McKay and Mike Bailey. So thank you, Lachelle and Mike, for joining this morning, and they will be available to help answer any questions that may come up. All right, so for quick reference, the town of Leonardtown is located in St. Mary's County. The town boundary is outlined in red on this map over here. So the text amendment being presented to you today is Emergency Ordinance number 215. This text amendment will amend the growth allocation section of the town code to correct minor errors inadvertently enacted by the town's comprehensive review and to specifically allow for the use of growth allocation for new intensely developed areas or IDAs that are less than 20 acres. During the comprehensive review and update of the town's critical area program back in 2021, alternative growth allocation standards were approved to allow for non-adjacent growth allocation. However, a cross-reference was inadvertently left out to also allow for IDAs less than 20 acres. This text amendment corrects the error that was accidentally overlooked by our office in the town. So the IDA development section in COMAR allows a local jurisdiction to propose an alternative standard for IDAs less than 20 acres if the commission approves the alternative standard as part of the local program. Without such a standard, a new IDA must be at least 20 acres or make up an overall area of IDA that is at least 20 acres. The purpose of allowing for smaller IDAs is to provide a local jurisdiction with the flexibility needed to accommodate certain commercial, industrial, or institutional uses as consistent with the comprehensive plan. This proposed text amendment will allow a new IDA to be less than 20 acres, provided that the area to receive growth allocation meets the following standards. Any development must be served by public water and sewer. The site is located in a priority funding area. The development is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and the development will have an overall economic benefit or implement a specific objective of the comp plan. So these are the same standards that were previously approved for non-adjacent growth allocation in the town, and this text amendment makes sure that they also apply to IDAs less than 20 acres as well. Further, this language is similar to that which the Commission has approved in other county and municipality critical area programs, including in the towns of Denton in 2022 and Queenstown in 2017. And you'll see in my next presentation that this alternative provision is applicable for a growth allocation request currently being proposed by the town. So with that, Commission staff recommends that the Commission concur with the Chairman's determination that this text amendment be processed as a refinement to the Town of Leonardtown's critical area program. Further, staff recommends the Chairman approve the text amendment as proposed. And if there are no questions, I will turn it back over to Chair Greer.
Thank you, Annie. Are there any questions in the chat?
I am not seeing any questions in the chat. It's possible Commissioner Greer is frozen. Are there any other questions as we hopefully get Sue back online? Yes, we'll give Commissioner Greer a few seconds to see if she's able to hop back on.
This is Commissioner Lewis. Do we need a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
Yes, I'm seeing a nod from Emily, so I'm thinking yes, if we can get a motion.
Commissioner Hewitt, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request from the Town of Leonardtown for the text amendment.
Commissioner Lewis, second.
Yes, we can go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the motion passes, and I guess, Annie, you can move on to your second presentation. Hopefully Sue will be back shortly.
Okay, that works. I'll go ahead and get started. Hello again, I am Annie Sakarik, and I will now be presenting the St. Mary's Nursing Center growth allocation as requested by the Town of Leonardtown. Once again, we have representatives from the town to help answer any questions, as well as the project consultant, Doug Ostazeski. I'm so sorry, Doug. And he's here as well to help answer any questions that may come up. So once again, here are a couple maps of St. Mary's County showing the location of Leonardtown. The proposed growth allocation site is located at the intersection of Maryland Route 5, Point Lookout Road, and Maryland Route 4, St. Andrews Church Road. So this aerial shows the current critical area boundary. The subject parcels, parcel 2 and parcel 57, are outlined in bright blue. And as you can see, the site is partially located in the Resource Conservation Area, or RCA, as shown in green. The red areas on the left represent IDA. However, you'll notice that all parcels directly adjacent to the nursing center site are designated as RCA. Here's a slightly zoomed in aerial of the parcels. Parcel 2 is currently developed with various abandoned structures, all of which are proposed to be demolished as part of this project. Parcel 57 is currently developed with a commercial office building and parking lot. Parcel 2 is owned by St. Mary's Nursing and Rehabilitation Center Incorporated and zoned Institutional Office District, while Parcel 57 is owned by Valley Investments LLC and zoned Commercial Office District. I'll go into more detail about this in the next few slides, but I do want to point out, let me find, sorry, my laser pointer here, that the applicant, St. Mary's Nursing and Rehabilitation Center Incorporated, is proposing a construction project mostly in the open field here on parcel 2. Here are some images from our site visit back in 2021 with the town and consultant showing the current conditions. You can see some of the dilapidated structures and get a better idea of the existing forest and field composition, as well as see our science advisor, Claudia, just in her element here. And as I alluded to, the town is proposing to construct an assisted living and memory care facility. However, for a new institutional use to be established at the project site, growth allocation is necessary for both parcels. Therefore, the town is requesting growth allocation to change the designation of 12.67 acres from RCA to IDA. So here is a zoomed in copy of the site plan, which was provided on page 3 of the attachment to the staff report. This shows the layout of the proposed nursing center facility and associated driveways and parking areas and stormwater management features and all that fun stuff. So in yellow is the limit of disturbance, or LOD. The red line here represents the critical area 1,000-foot boundary. There are 2 buffers on site, so they're in, which are shown in blue. So there's a buffer over here that has been expanded for steep slopes, and then there is a buffer that kind of follows along the LOD on this side, and you can see a portion of the LOD runs through the buffer. But as I'll mention in the next slide, there's only temporary disturbance proposed in this area of the buffer to remove existing lot coverage. And finally, on the site plan, I've outlined the parcel boundary for parcel 57. And as you can see, there is a portion of the LOD that runs through this parcel. So as part of the minimum local program requirements, a growth allocation application must meet the development standards for the proposed critical area designation, which in this case is IDA. The nursing center project is proposing approximately 1.42 acres of new lot coverage and 1.15 acres of canopy coverage removal in the critical area. However, there are no lot coverage or forest clearing limits in the IDA. The main development standard in the IDA is stormwater management. A submerged gravel wetland is proposed to meet environmental site design to the maximum extent practicable. In addition, the critical area 10% stormwater requirement has been met. Further, this project received local approval for the stormwater management plan and sediment and erosion and control plan. All projects in the IDA are also subject to the standards and criteria for the buffer and other habitat protection areas. This project proposes some minor impacts to non-tidal wetlands, but MDE has determined that authorization is not required. And there is temporary disturbance to the 100-foot buffer in order to remove existing lot coverage. A buffer management plan was provided showing that all applicable mitigation and establishment requirements have been met. In addition to the general development standards, a growth allocation request must also meet the growth allocation standards outlined in state law and regulations. The Commission is required to ensure that a growth allocation is consistent with the purposes, policies, goals, and provisions of the critical area law and criteria. The growth allocation standards are location-related requirements that a property must meet in order to be granted growth allocation. The full list of standards and associated descriptions can be found on pages 3 through 5 of the staff report, but I'll summarize a few of them now. For one, the critical area law requires a new IDA to be located in an LDA or adjacent to an existing IDA. However, as I mentioned in my previous presentation, the critical area law does allow a local jurisdiction to use a provision that varies from the state standards if the alternative standard is consistent with the jurisdiction's comprehensive plan and the commission has approved the standard as part of the local program. So even though this growth allocation is not located in an LDA or adjacent to another IDA, it meets the alternative standard in the town code, which I'll go into a little more detail about in the next slide. So the growth allocation standards also include locating a new IDA in a manner that minimizes impacts to habitat protection areas, which this proposal meets because, as I mentioned in the previous slide, it has only minimal impacts to non-tidal wetlands and temporary disturbance in the buffer. In addition, this proposal addresses the standard of optimizing water quality benefits because it's located beyond the 300-foot boundary of tidal waters and wetlands, and the project meets applicable environmental site design and critical area stormwater management requirements. So with the approval of emergency ordinance number 215 from my first presentation, the town will not only be able to use non-adjacent growth allocation, but they will also be able to use growth allocation for a new IDA that is less than 20 acres, provided it meets the standards on this slide, which I reviewed in more detail in the previous presentation, and hopefully now kind of everything's coming together for you. So this growth allocation request meets these alternative standards because the proposed project will construct new utilities to connect to public water and sewer services, and applicable service capacity has been allocated at the town's wastewater treatment plant. The subject parcels were included in the town's priority funding area upon annexation in 2021. The town found the proposed project to be consistent with the 2010 comprehensive plan, given it will provide assisted living and memory care services to Leonardtown residents. Further, the town determined that the project will have an overall economic benefit by creating long-term full-time employment opportunities and attracting top-tier medical professionals. So along with reviewing the standards, the commission is also required to consider various factors when reviewing a growth allocation request. You may recognize a few of them because some of them overlap with the alternative standards I just reviewed, but the full list of factors can be found on pages 6 through 8 of the staff report. Regarding the first factor, the proposed growth allocation is consistent with the underlying institutional office district zoning, and it will provide a service not currently available in Leonardtown. The project will have an economic benefit because it will create new jobs and provide consolidated assisted living and memory care services to the community. Existing public infrastructure will be used. However, the town's wastewater treatment plant will need to be expanded in the future in order to serve any additional development on site. And regarding coastal resiliency, it was determined based on online mapping tools that the site is not located in an area that is vulnerable to storm surge or sea level rise inundation. In addition, we requested preliminary comments on the proposed growth allocation from our state agency commission members. The comments we received can be found on pages 9 through 10 of the staff report. The Maryland Department of Agriculture had no concerns with the proposal after reviewing the project and consulting with the local soil conservation district. DNR noted that all appropriate reviews have occurred and there would be a net positive economic benefit to this growth allocation. DNR also noted that additional tree plantings and other best management practices around the facility and associated development could provide additional stormwater management and water quality protection. And finally, the Department of Planning found the proposed growth allocation request to be consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. So with all of that, because this proposed growth allocation meets the required standards for new IDAs under critical area law and in accordance with state and local regulations, commission staff recommends concurrence with the chairman's determination that the growth allocation be processed as a refinement to the town's critical area program. And furthermore, staff recommends that the chairman approve the growth allocation as shown on the site plan and accompanying materials accepted by commission staff on February 14th, 2023. And with all of that, I will now turn it back over to Chair Greer. Hopefully she was able to join back in.
I apologize. I don't know what happened. You were there and then you weren't.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for that presentation. Are there any comments in the chat? I do not see any. Before we go on to commission questions, were there any public comments submitted?
As far as I'm aware, there are no public comments for this or for the previous project as well.
Okay. Then if we can go to any questions by commissioners, and also following that, want to make sure that we offer the town of Leonardtown an opportunity to speak if they would like to be heard as well. I see Commissioner Ferguson has his hand up. Commissioner Ferguson?
A couple questions and comments. I assume that this assisted living facility will be a standalone. Is there a St. Mary's Nursing and Rehab Center that it's attached to? Is there a pre-existing facility?
Ms. McKay, you can answer that question.
Yes, there is a nursing center that's been in town for many years, not on the same site, but nearby.
Okay. Another question. The write-up really refers to water and sewage capability. But is the existing infrastructure as far as roads, electricity, and so forth adequate to handle the proposed facility, or would there have to be additions made to the infrastructure?
No, everything is available, and State Highway has already submitted comments on the entrance to their road as well.
Very good.
Chair Greer, I was getting some feedback from you, so I muted you.
I'm afraid to touch anything, so I might need your help muting and unmuting, because when I touched it, everyone disappeared. So I appreciate your help for my technology, whatever challenge. Commissioner Gerthofer, I see your hand is up.
Yes, good morning. I had one quick question, and that was specifically about the water sewer extension that's being installed. Is this a single hookup just for this property, or will other properties along the same line, adjacent owners, be able to connect to that as well and possibly reduce some of the septic reserve areas that are currently existing?
So at this time, it's just approved for the nursing center. The other property, the Valley property, eventually would be able to connect once we were in the process of expanding our wastewater treatment plant. And once that's completed in about a year, in the future, they would be able to connect as well. And currently there are some other properties nearby that have not been annexed in, that are not on our system at this time, but it's possible for future annexations as well. But this particular line ties into our main along Route 5, and it would just serve this this site.
Okay, thank you.
If I could really quickly, I have a follow-up question to that. I know that the town of Leonardtown had not necessarily a moratorium, but you had passed an emergency ordinance limiting access to your EDUs because of capacities at wastewater. Will this expansion resolve those capacity issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other questions from any of the commission members? Is there anything else that the town of Leonardtown, anything else that you all would like to contribute to the conversation?
And we just appreciate the opportunity, and we look forward to trying to move this project forward. It's much needed in our area. Thank you.
So with that, and seeing no other questions, is there a motion that the commission concur with the chairman's determination that because the town of Leonardtown's growth allocation, as shown on the site plan and accompanying materials accepted by commission staff on February 14th, 2023, may be processed as a refinement as it meets the required standards for new IDAs under Natural Resources Article 8-1808.1 subsection C, Comar 27.01.02.06-3, and Chapter 60-7 of the Town of Leonardtown's Municipal Code.
Commissioner,
Further-
Madam Chair, Commissioner Hewitt, so moved. Thank you.
If
Second.
you add to that motion that it be approved as presented.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, may it be approved as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Motion
Commissioner
by
Ferguson.
Commissioner Hewitt and second by Commissioner Ferguson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And that brings us to our last item on the agenda, the Town of Perryville Critical Area Map Update Extension Request. And Mr. Mike Grassman is presenting. So I'll turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, we can let the Leonardtown people go. I'm sure they have important things to do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair Greer. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. And can my PowerPoint presentation be seen currently?
You're in edit mode right now, but we can see your screen.
All right.
Yep, now looks great.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. This morning I'm going to request a critical area mapping update extension for the town of Perryville. For you who do not know where town of Perryville it is located in Cecil County along the banks of the Susquehanna River. Local jurisdictions are required to approve their updated critical area maps within 24 months from the date the commission transfers the summary draft maps. The 24-month deadline for Perryville to approve their draft maps passed on January 28th, 2023. The town was unable to meet this deadline due to revising the town's critical area code in conjunction with the mapping update. As such, the town of Perryville is requesting a 90-day extension to the critical area mapping update timeline. Therefore, the new timeline, the new deadline for approval will be April 28th, 2023. Additionally, the town's critical area ordinance update will be submitted in conjunction with the mapping update. With that, staff recommends that the extension be approved.
Are there any questions are there any questions from the commissioners? Okay, seeing none. Is Commissioner Malkus, is there a motion to approve the requested time extension and establish a new deadline for local approval as April 28th, 2023?
So moved.
Commissioner Merritt, is there a second?
I don't believe Merritt is in attendance today.
Commissioner here Cornwell, is there a second?
Yes, a second.
Motioned in second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved. And that concludes our business today. We will adjourn until 1 o'clock when the entire commission meets. Is there a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Lewis, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Hewitt, is there a second?
Second, thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you for your patience.